Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature. I'm Jill Kuramoto. Every week we sit down with Hawaii State Senators to talk about the events and the issues happening here at the Capitol. And today joining us we have Senator Rosalind Baker, who represents District 6, South and West Maui. She's also the chair of the Senate Committee on Commerce, Consumer Protection, and Health. And we also have Senator Laura Thielen. Senator Thielen represents District 25, which encompasses Kailua, Waimanalo, all the way to Hawaii Kai. And both of these distinguished senators serve on the Women's Legislative Caucus, which is a bipartisan organization made up of women legislators of both the House and Senate. And they support an agenda designed to enhance the lives of women, children, and families. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us. Now, there's a number of issues that are moving through the legislature as we speak, and they are important issues such as health care, domestic violence, and wage inequality. We have just a short time, so let's talk about a few of them. Let's start with health care. And Senate Bill 2340, I know, ensures certain benefits of the Federal Affordable Care Act, which makes sure that it will stay intact under Hawaii state law. Explain to me why this bill is so important.
It's important because it keeps in place some very important protections, particularly for women and families. One is to make sure that there is no gender inequality in health insurance. Before the Affordable Care Act, it was quite common for women's health to cost more than men's health from an insurance standpoint. And so they didn't get reimbursed as well, and they really weren't covered as well. So this would make sure that there is that equity for insurance. The other thing that's very important is to be able to keep your children on your own plan up until age 26. One of the reasons that we get some skews in insurance rates is we have older, sicker people having insurance and not younger, healthier ones. So this gets more young people into the health insurance market, helps us bring the cost of the rates down, and also gets them the health care that they need so that they're not going without. So those are two really important areas. The other one is the prohibition against not covering pre-existing illnesses. I'm a cancer survivor, so I would be considered to have a pre-existing illness, even though my cancer was dealt with some 40 years ago. But this way, somebody who has an ongoing issue, whether it's diabetes or some other chronic condition, cannot be discriminated against because they have that pre-existing. So they'll be able to get health insurance at a reasonable rate and not have that go against them.
Well, let's talk about another bill. In terms of reducing violence against women, there is a backlog on sexual assault kits, also known as rape kits, and that's a problem across the state and across the country. So SB 2345 addresses this issue by creating a response team to oversee how these kits are tracked and processed. Explain to me why you think this might be an effort to actually move along these kits faster as far as their processing and the reporting.
Well, we have two women reporters in Cleveland actually to thank about uncovering the fact that nationwide there was a huge backlog of these evidence kits. And what these are forensic evidence, DNA evidence after somebody has been sexually assaulted. They'll go to a hospital or a treatment facility. They'll take evidence and they'll store it, and that way they'll have the DNA of the perpetrator of the act. In many jurisdictions, they had thousands and thousands of these kits that were in storage, in some cases being destroyed and never being tested. When this became uncovered in Cleveland and they started doing the testing, what they uncovered were that there were serial offenders that were attacking women. And for years, everybody thought that offenders had a certain method of operation. They would only attack women that they knew, or they would only attack women they didn't know. And what they found out with these serial offenders is they were attacking women across the spectrum. And so they were able to start to prosecute and target and jail these serial offenders and hopefully over time reduce the sex assault. So in Hawaii, when we did explain this to the different jurisdictions, they did agree to test, but what we're trying to do this year is we don't want to see a backlog pile up again in the future. You know, if the people who are testing now retire and new people come in and they just say, oh, it's not that important. So we need to put these standards into state law, standards about how evidence kits are kept in storage, how people are notified when they are tested, what is done with the evidence, and how it's shared between the different jurisdictions around the state, because we want to, again, target serial offenders and reduce the sexual assault that does happen. Unfortunately, it's very common. University of Hawaii has done a study on all 10 campuses across the state, and the number of people there who said that they have been victims of assault or domestic violence, between 10 and 20% of the students on every campus on all the islands across the state. So it's far too common, and we really do need to reduce the violence against women.
It is a problem, and it also ensures that there is going to be a report to the legislature as well.
Yes.
To help
Yes.
with accountability, correct?
Correct.
All right, well, let's just...
And public transparency. So it's not
Absolutely.
just accountability to us, it's something then that every person can have access to, and you can see how your jurisdiction is doing in comparison to others.
Okay. All right, well, let's talk about women and the workplace. And Senate Bill 2351 would prohibit prospective employers to ask about applicants' wage history or salary. So, and we know statistically and historically women have been paid
Yes.
less than men. And so how is this going to address that issue?
Well, we've got to look at all the various tools that we have at our disposal, and this is one, we think, that it will focus on not what the previous salary was, but what the qualifications, what the abilities are, and looking forward. Because if you're stuck in a low-wage job, you may have skills that are far beyond that. You're not being paid for your skills. So if people are focusing on what your employment history is, it's not going to give you the opportunity to really talk about your abilities and what your qualifications are and how you could actually benefit that company.
I think the other thing we want to point out is we're trying to get this bill through. Some people say that the pay inequity is just because of the jobs that women pick, but they've done statistics and they've looked at for every type of career, women are paid less than men. For every education level, women are paid less than men. For every ethnic group, women are paid less than men. And for every age group, women are paid less than men. So it's not just a matter of women picking certain jobs, it's even when you have people within the same career path that there's this disparity. So we need to find ways to be able to have leveled the playing field. And it's something that's not going to come at the expense of men. It's actually going to help everybody because it's going to raise the pay for women, their families, everyone there. It's going to help everyone.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here. And these bills are actually headed to the Senate Committee on Ways and Means for further consideration, so stay tuned. Again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching Live at the Legislature. We'll see you next week.
Live at the Legislature is a live half-hour weekly news program that focuses on the issues, legislation, and topics of importance emerging from this year's legislative session. Each week, state senators and representatives provide a variety of perspectives on the issues from both sides of the aisle. Tune in to Live at the Legislature weekly to get exclusive updates on what's happening in Hawaii's legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capitol.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in Room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. Open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. in session. The public access room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process. The public is welcome to track and affect legislation pending before the Hawaii State Legislature.
Aloha, I'm Carolyn Tanaka and welcome to Live at the Legislature. Every week we sit down with members of the House of Representatives to talk about issues, concerns, and legislation moving through the state capitol. This morning I'm joined by Maui Representative Justin Woodson. Good morning, Representative.
Aloha.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Representative Woodson is the chair of the Education Committee, and he represents the Kahului community on Maui. Let's talk about a program that you were very instrumental in passing last year, called the Hawaii Promise Program. And this year, I understand that we are now expanding on that program. Can you take us through that, Bill, please?
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. So the Hawaii Promise Program, in essence, is Hawaii's version of free college. What it says is if you are an in-state resident and you qualify for any type of financial aid, then you also qualify for the Hawaii Promise Program. So what that means is, let's say that you qualify for $200 in terms of your financial aid, and your balance is $800, be it for books, be it for tuition, be it even for transportation, then the state, in fact, picks up the rest of that cost. So the state would absorb that $800 cost, which would make your schooling, in essence, free. It's a very important program. This goes for individuals not only trying to get their four-year degree, but individuals that are trying to get their degree in dental hygienist degree, whether they're trying to be a mechanic, whether they're even trying to do something like get their certification in cybersecurity. We want to invest in our people, and this is one way we can do so. So the four-year plan is actually geared towards if you want to apply the Hawaii Promise to the four-year institutions of higher learning, like University of Hawaii Manoa, University of Hawaii Maui College, University of Hawaii Hilo, then the Hawaii Promise program would apply for that full schooling.
And specifically, how would that apply for the four-year schools?
So it would work in the same way that it works right now for the community colleges, and it would just apply to all 4 years or 6 years if it takes of your schooling.
Okay, well, I know it's been a very successful program and very highly thought of, so we will be anxiously looking forward to what the legislature does with the expansion program.
Thank you. Team
this
effort.
year. Team effort,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
Talking about, you are the chair of the Education Commission, and I know one of your priorities is suicide prevention. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So suicide is a tragic situation. Per capita, Maui County has a higher number of individuals that commit suicide. And not just for our youth, but to our larger population, we need to better address the issue. And for me, it really hit home, I would say, a couple months ago, when there was a young man who was in high school who had dropped out. He decided to take his life. So he did so in an area that was close to Kahului Elementary School and Maui High School. So it was not only a tragedy for himself, his friends, and his family, it was a tragedy for those kids because a lot of the kids actually saw the body as it was lying there close to the property. So this is something that we really need to focus more on. We have a bill to help provide additional support for suicide prevention. It works through the Department of Human Services and Health. And what it will do is through Department of Health, funnel the funding to the individuals that are currently working on the issues of suicide prevention. So just on a personal note, the individual that took his life, one of my friends was responsible for engaging and helping this person. His workload was stretched so far that he was unable to get back to this individual before he had taken his life. He took his life. So he feels personally responsible, but it is not in no way, shape, or form his failure. It is all of our failures. It's a collective failure. So we want to prevent that from happening in the future.
What is that bill number? Do you?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would say HB 2507, but it's moving in the legislature this year.
Okay. Well, talking about suicide prevention, bullying, and on campus, obviously right now, because of the horrible mass shootings in Parkland, Florida, security on our schools again is something that we are talking about, whether or not our kids are safe when we send them to school. There is a bill moving through the legislature that calls for increased security on our campuses. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think that's a very good proposal. That is my understanding, a Senate bill. We will be considering it on the House side. I think it's a good bill. And as the chairman of the Education Committee, I will support the proposal. As I understand it, what the bill does is it makes it so that there is added security locks on our classrooms, all of our classrooms, enhanced intercom systems, which I think goes to making sure that we communicate properly with the kids. Of course, I think that's going to require also for the schools to potentially do active shooter exercises. I know some of the schools already do. It might not be a bad idea for all the schools to participate in some of that type of training, and anything that we can do always to make our kids safer, we should most certainly take advantage of that.
Now, this happens all the time. I mean, there have been more than just a bunch just this year of shootings on our school campuses. There is a bill that is going to be heard tomorrow by the House that bans something that they call bump stocks on assault rifles to prevent them from turning into machine guns. But every year we talk about this. Do you think that this time we will actually do something here in the Hawaii State Legislature?
Sure. So this is one of those issues that is highly charged emotionally, but I think that we can most certainly do things that are commonsensical. This is one thing that we can do that I think makes a lot of sense. In no way, shape, or form do you need that type of firepower in our current community. So it makes sense to go ahead and ban those types of enhanced equipments as it relates to firearms.
Okay, well, good. As I say, you also are the representative from Maui, and we have about 56 seconds. Don't mean to rush you, but I do know that one of the things you want to talk about is the homeless situation on the island of Maui. Can you kind of briefly run us through that, please?
Sure. So for the island of Maui, the homeless issue is something that is becoming increasingly more prevalent. So we want to work with the communities to make sure that we provide additional supports for that particular population. Specifically, we're working with KHAKO, Kahale Akaola, and it's a homeless center that helps address that particular population. They have been successful in that they are able to transition people out of homelessness in about a year and a half, which is a very successful rate. We want to continue to support them and work with the rest of the community to do so.
Well, I'm sure there's so much more to talk about, and we will have you back on. Thank you, Representative Woodson.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Aloha.
Live at the Legislature is a live half-hour weekly news program that focuses on the issues, legislation, and topics of importance emerging from this year's legislative session. Each week, state senators and representatives provide a variety of perspectives on the issues from both sides of the aisle. Tune in to Live at the Legislature Weekly to get exclusive updates on what's happening in Hawaii's legislature.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in Room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. Open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. in session. The Public Access Room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process. The public is welcome to track and affect legislation pending before the Hawaii State Legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capital.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list.
Aloha, and welcome back to Live at the Legislature. I'm Ka'eo Kealoha Lindsay with the House Minority. Our guest again today is Representative Jean Ward, the House Minority Floor Leader, Representative of Hawaii Kai, Co-Chair of Small Business, and member of the Committee on Finance. Good morning, Representative.
Good morning, Ka'eo. Good morning to everybody.
So today we'll be talking about taxes, business, and finance. And to begin, on Sunday, Tom Yamachika published an article on Civil Beat posing the question, will Hawaii conform to the Trump tax cuts? And so my first question is, should we, and if so, why?
There's two things Americans have got to do. One is to die, and second is to pay taxes. No matter what comes out, we're going to have to pay taxes. What we've got is a debate going on between adopting, conforming to, which every year occurs, by the way, not just because there's a Trump tax bill, but every year the Finance Committee and therefore the House and the Senate has to say, yes, we will agree to all the conformity. And in the Constitution it says we have to do that because for the simplicity of filing and the benefit for those who are the what would you call them, it's basically an honesty system for people filing, that we have to do that. What I want to do is take a shout out to the Chair of Finance, Sylvia Luke, Representative Luke, who said that, you know, the Finance Committee has got a recommendation from the Department of Taxation, but I think we should have kind of a forum seminar to really see what the high points are, the low points, like the mortgage deduction has been capped at 500,000, whereas before it was $1 million, or no, sorry, it's 750,000, and then charitable deductions may change, et cetera. So what we're going to have before we actually vote on that bill for conformity is to have a offer and a take. But I would say this in terms of what Tom Yamachika said. He said basically we should do the same thing, I think he suggested that we did under the Reagan tax cuts. People are getting more money in their pockets. Now, who's going to be against people getting more money in their pockets? If you're against getting more money in people's pockets, you've got to be kidding, at least at this time in the Hawaii economy. So it's kind of a work in progress, but I think eventually we'll probably adopt the majority of things. The things that we may change may be the mortgage deduction, because expensive housing in Hawaii is not going to go away.
Okay, and that leads me to my next question. So according to Speaker Ryan's website, 350 million companies have announced that $2.7 billion in bonuses have benefited more than 4.7 million people here since tax reform was passed in December. And so locally, we saw that here with First Hawaiian Bank, Bank of Hawaii, and American Savings, who most of the employees got bonuses of over $1,000, and their minimum wage has been raised to $15 an hour. So given the success of tax reform so far, and you as yourself as a former small business owner, what more do you think can be done here in Hawaii to bring good paying jobs here and just jobs generally?
I'm still a small business owner, still paying GT taxes and other deductions. But it looks as though when we've got a tax opportunity, who's going to be, in terms of bonuses, they've been kind of a dinosaur. We used to talk about them a lot. And then, Japan gives bonuses. In fact, a good part of your salary may be a bonus during Japan. And then traditionally in the US, it was during the Christmas season. Now they've kind of gone away, except now they're coming back. And with the quotes that you've given, there's a lot of people who are going to be able to get a lot more income for the holidays and for the kid's birthday. And quite frankly, 70% of the economy is run by expenditures by the public. It's not the government, it's not the businesses, it's people spending money that makes the economy hum. So this is good. It's got to be good, and I doubt anybody's going to refuse a bonus. Except we don't get any in the legislature, just so people know that. We have no bonuses in the legislature.
And so we're moving into the 5-day recess, and so we'll have kind of a, kind of marathon of hearings. And so what are some of the things on your radar so far, just regarding housing and homelessness that may come through finance?
The break is kind of a time to contemplate. At the same time, we have a lot of finance hearing because all the bills essentially go to finance. One of those that come to mind is, if people were watching earlier talking about suicide, Hawaii has one of the highest increases as well as one of the highest rates of suicide. And there's a bill that attacks the family that makes it even weaker. That is, if you file for divorce, you get a restraining order. Heretofore, if you file for divorce, you have a discussion between members. But this weakens the family because it makes animosity as part of the agreement between a husband and a wife. And I don't think that's a good issue. It keeps the kids separated. They got to stay in the school. There's, I think, more endangerment, quite frankly, in that bill than there is positive things. The other thing regarding Hawaii homelessness and housing, we had a great bill that told the counties they had to have so many houses built, or otherwise they would have their TAT taxes decreased. That bill, I thought, was a great stick to get the counties out of permit purgatory. Permit purgatory is where it takes you 7 months to 7 years to get a permit to do any kind of development, particularly a house. Take 2 or 3 years for a house. For other development, 20 years to do ho'opili. We've got to incentivize either by carrots or sticks. And this was a carrot, a stick, which everybody said, oh, that's too harsh. Everybody came against it. But I commend Representative Luke for thinking in those terms.
And do you have any other updates regarding, say, the sanctuary state bill, or just anything that went on last week?
I would say the update on the sanctuary state bill is your taxes are going to increase if we keep pursuing this, sticking our fingers in the administration's eyes. Case in point, we are needing $750 million, for those of you who want the rail to be built. $750 million is in the, how would you say, on again, off again. They're going to give it to us, they're not going to give it to us. And Mayor Caldwell backed off on the sanctuary city issue because, hey, you want money from the feds? Right now, 25% of our budget comes from the federal government. And to do a sanctuary state is another way, and it's simply a political question. There's nothing substantively that really makes a difference. Immigration is not a priority here. We're all immigrants. We all have family. We all have relatives. And what I'm thinking is that if this goes through, taxes are certainly going to increase, or the inefficiency of our congressional delegation will even be neutered all the more.
So we've got about a minute left. Do you have any last thoughts?
Yes, I want to do a shout out to Friends of Hanauma Bay, because this is what is now the bill to ban, only for sunscreen, oxybenzone, which is found in not only coral reefs, but for the biology of women and men and fish, it wreaks havoc. So it's one of those bills that's going to be heard by the person sitting here earlier, Senator, I think in probably tomorrow or the next day, is going to hear this bill. And for anybody who's interested in sunscreen, everybody's got to use sunscreen, everybody has it, but this is the one that can be substituted and there's no hit on anybody, and they can be beautiful and cancer-free.
Representative Ward, thank you for your time. Thank you for viewing. We'll see you next week.